Here are your hosts, Derick G and AJ.
The Lioness, Amanda Nunes, retires on top after a dominant victory against really what we thought was the only other life in the women's bantamweight division, Irene Aldana. She made it look easy, she made it look flawless, and she made it apparent that there's levels to this game. But believe it or not, Amanda Nunes was not the biggest winner at UFC 289. We're talking about Dvorak, Charles Oliveira, a man who defeated the biggest dark horse of the lightweight division and then pretty much solidified a rematch for that lightweight belt against Islam Makhachev. Will it come to fruition? I don't know, but Dana White tends to think so, and I think that he's got some pretty good pull over there. Folks, welcome back to another episode of the Bloody Water Podcast. I am your host, Derick G, and breaking it down with me, as always, is my co-host, the Santa Fe Bomber, the New Mexico native, the winner of this week's challenge. AJ, brother, how you feeling?
I'm feeling good,
That's
Derick.
right.
5-0 on the week. You're right. Amanda Nunes, the GOAT, retires on top, just like we love to see. We love to see everybody retire on a big notice when you're still cognitively there. Charlie Olives, Chucky O, man, actually does what a lot of people were saying he couldn't do. Uncle Chael called Benny a lock. Little did he know there's some locks going the other way for Charles Oliveira, but nonetheless, Derick, 6-0 for Canada, bro. That's another big storyline too. Canada MMA is absolutely taken off. This is a big time, man. Are we going to see a shift? Are we going to see the shift over from across the pond, head back to North America? What do you think?
Listen, I love me some Canadian fighters. I love me some good fighters in general. Just because he had a good night does not signal a shift for the future to come, brother. I'll just say that. Listen, there's only 16 Canadian fighters on the roster, so of course you want to see them do well, but in the grand scheme of things, it was a good night. You got to give it to him. But let's take a step back. My man AJ let the cat out the bag just a little bit quicker than I would have liked. But yes, 5-0 for my man. Third 5-0 lock on the year thus far. So this is what this should signal to you folks, is that if you're not locked into the Bloody Water Podcast, you're not getting the picks that you're going to need to make the money you want to make. And then this is really the grand scheme of things right here, is at the end of the day, whether you're rolling with me or you're rolling with my boy AJ, look down at the scoreboard and you see we're both above 50%, but my man over there, he hit it hard. So let me give it out for him. Round of applause for the 5-0. Now that we've taken our victory lap, let's show the people how we've done here today, AJ. So look at all that gold on the right side, my man. The real turn swings here, if that's what you want to call it, is Amanda Nunes, Marc Andre-Barriult. What I'm really proud of is the 3 consensus picks that we had up there for the Bloody Water Podcast. We represented and we brought it in. Chucky Olives, Mike Malott, Dan Ige. AJ, before we move forward and actually break down these fights, you gotta admit to the people, this was a chalky week. If you were going with your betting favorites, that was pretty much all the picks that won aside from Charles Oliveira. And I want you to give us a quick take on why Charles Oliveira never really should have been the betting underdog in the first place. What do you think?
Never should have been the betting underdog. We've seen him perform to his highest abilities, and we've also seen him perform to his lowest. But you know, he wasn't going to allow that to happen 2 times in a row. And we talked about it, man. Benny sometimes under shows up to the fight night. This boy Charles Olives, especially in the 3-round fight, absolutely has that dog in to put him away. We saw it, man. Everybody's always, what have you done for me lately? And you just got to throw out that last fight, man, of the Oliveira fight, or who am I thinking? The champ now. How can I think of his name?
Makhachev.
Thank you. Makhachev. You got to throw out the last Makhachev fight. My question to you, Derick, from the interviews, from what we were saying, do you think we see that fight? Dana White hinted towards it. He kind of mentioned it. Charles said, he was like, yeah, I'll take it, but I'll wait a little bit. How quick do you think?
I don't know how quick this is going to happen, but I think that's what they're leaning towards, because right now, who else are you going to give to Islam Makhachev right now? They're literally saying either a rematch with Volk or a rematch with Chucky Olives, but we'll talk about that more in 1 second, folks. When we bring up the scoreboard one more time, the big shift that we had in terms of our contentious picks is Marc Andre-Barriult, the power bar versus Eryk Anders, man. I took a swing, I missed, I wanted to address to the people people. I said you never particularly feel great when you're betting for a decision for an Eryk Anders fight. I thought it was a little closer than 30-27. We'll talk about it more in a bit, but it was a close fight, and Marc Andre-Barriult got the Canadian win right there. All right, this is what counts right here, the prop bets. My man AJ hit on a couple of these. Nunes decision, plus 275. Oliveira TKO, plus 350. And the Marc Andre-Barriult decision, plus 165. All news is not bad news on my end, though. I did hit that Mike Malott submission victory right there, which was almost too easy to call. But with that being said, that's your accountability check. This is our accountability mirror right here. You know what I mean? We stare into it. We say, where did we go right? Where did we go wrong? My man AJ has very little to correct. So with that being said, give my man a little bit of respect. Throw some respect on my man's name, you dig? But with that being said, AJ, real quick, let's let the people know. If you're not subscribed to the Bloody Water podcast right now, we already mentioned it. You're not making the money that you need to be making, and you're probably not having the fun that you should be having as an MMA spectator. So give the people one more reason why they should tune in, and let's talk about some fights, brother.
Folks, we know if you're here, you like money. And if we're here, you know you like fights. If you like fights, you also like winning money on those fights as well, folks. And there's one place that not only does it week in and week out, but also keeps accountable. Who else is going to show you when they take the L's and take the dubs, man? Yeah, we bask in our glory, but we also refine ourselves in those losses. And I do want to point out for those prop bets also, folks, it said plus 250 for the submission that Derick landed. You go back to actual fight night when the prop was being paid out as a plus 400 submission for Mike Malott. All dubs over here, man, nonetheless, and we're keeping grinding, folks. We ain't going anywhere. It's just momentum building after momentum building. So get with the train or get lost, because we will be headed right to the top, man, soon enough. There's no going to be sure, DCRC, it's a great show, but they ain't putting down numbers like this. Don't go to any other YouTube show that's just letting you down consistently, picking and choosing when they say they won. But stick right here where you know the winning is happening consistently, week in and week out. Make sure you hit that subscribe button.
My man AJ is taking shots today. Let's go. I got to bring the sounds out too. I'm ready, folks. We're not missing any more words. Subscribe to the channel. Share the show with your friends. Let's talk about some fights.
Have you seen that replay, buddy? Your head was bouncing around like a pinball machine.
Time for some main card breakdown, courtesy of your hosts, Derick G and AJ. The Lioness, she did it again, AJ. She made it look too easy. She made it look like, why are y'all playing with me here in this octagon? I do this, but I have to take a step back. Before she called it quits, man, I had a little bit of a feeling that this was going to be the final fight. Not because I'm, you know what I mean, Nostradamus and I can see into the future, but because if you looked at how the fight played out, before we talk about the inevitable downfall of Irene Aldana, there were some finishing opportunities in this fight. There were some opportunities for Nunes to take some risks in this fight, which she opted to say, nah, I'm going to make this a clean, easy victory. I'm going to grind it out on the ground for the last round of the fight, even though I didn't really want anything to do with it in the beginning. And then I'm going to go home, flawless victory, hardly touched, 2 belts on the ground, retire, and call it a day, man. Did you get that same feeling? Did you see this incoming, or was it as surprising as Dana White felt, where it kind of felt like he was signaling like, no, you better not retire right now? What you think, bro?
Check the tape, folk. I said it in the prelim. I didn't want to call for retirement, but it felt like if she gets the dub, she goes off in grace. I was not shocked at all, man. I was kind of ready to go back and really see that one, because you're right. Dana White needs Amanda Nunes to actually keep this division, a couple divisions going. But I mean, what else do you want? It's a perfect storybook ending to me personally, Derick, you know?
Yeah, I mean, this is the best way to do it. It is the most Habib-esque way to do it. Have a dominant victory and then just go out in grace and say, you know what? You know the real reason why I retired? You know, it was kind of Khabib-esque, right? My mom doesn't, you know, she doesn't like it, all that good stuff. But it kind of felt like even though she gave all of those reasons, it was more of, I'm tired of beating y'all up, and I'm not doing these rematches over and over and over again. There's no new blood. What else y'all want me to do? I'm out. Peace. Y'all go figure it out. She even said, I'm the only Brazilian champion remaining. Brazil, y'all need to get your stuff together, bro. You know what I mean? Like, let's bring it back to the days where it was 5 UFC champions coming from Brazil and all that. But all that to say, man, this was almost too easy of an opportunity for her in a retirement fight against a fighter that we proclaimed as being one of her toughest challenges. She just came off of 2 fights with Juliana Pena, and we said, you know what? This is a different, complete package. This is a fierce boxer, big, tall, long, lanky. And when she got into the arena, it was almost the Megan Anderson effect, where she froze up and saw a ghost before even entering the cage. So let me ask you that, AJ, because right now, Irene Aldana is getting nothing but negative things thrown at her, right? You choked, da-da-da-da-da, whatever, right? Is it fair to say that she simply froze up and did not bring the Irene Aldana that we watched on tape in preparation for this fight? Or is Amanda Nunes simply that good to where she presents a different level of the game that all these other contenders just haven't seen yet?
I think it's the latter, Derick. I think it's Amanda Nunes being so good, so pressure forward, so insistent on fighting her style of fight that when we talk about all the time on the show, what do you do to a bully? What do you do to somebody that is looking to walk you down and impose their will on it? Well, you bully them back. And when Aldana has the hands, and that's what she's so confident in, she's a slick striker, good head movement, very technical. DC's breaking down how technical her hooks are, how beautiful her strikes are. You come in, you can't touch the girl. She's bobbing and weaving, ducking under, hitting you harder than you thought. And maintaining range, man, and there's nothing you can do. It's so frustrating. That's where I think that's the momentum transfer. That's where the fighters go, oh, fuck, like, damn, this is a lot harder of a fight than I thought it was going to be. I don't know if I want to be here anymore. And you just keep on getting work for another 25 minutes. What do you think, Derick? Was it the latter or the former?
I think it's a mixture of both, but I don't think it's as easy to say that Amanda Nunes is just such on a different stratosphere that Irene Aldana was shut down and she wasn't able to throw. Because that's the problem, is you have to insert yourself into a fight to make it a fight. And I felt like she never inserted herself in there, right? She landed a total of 57 strikes in this fight. A 5-round championship fight. A fight where you said, I'm bringing that 4th belt home back to Mexico. A fight where everybody had you on their shoulders, which was bringing you up and all of that stuff. This is your opportunity. She is as old as Amanda Nunes. You may never get to fight for a title again. And if you do, you'll never fight against Nunes again. And this is the performance that you brought on. So, once again, I know everybody is hailing things at her in a negative limelight. I really just think that opportunity-wise, she didn't show up. So as a wagerer, as a bettor, I want a mulligan. I want my money back. However, that's the name of the game that we play. So I think it's a beautiful scenario because perception-wise, we're going to look back at this performance, and this is going to be part of the myth of Amanda Nunes, not the myth, but like the story, right? The legend of Amanda Nunes, which is going to proclaim her, as one of the best to ever do it. Now, Daniel Cormier proclaimed her as the greatest fighter of all time. Do you think that Amanda Nunes has entered that category, or has she simply locked down greatest woman fighter, double champ of all time?
I have to go with the greatest female fighter of all time, Derick. I don't know if there's it may just be a weekly conversation that everybody's having that this is the greatest fighter of all time. It seems to be that belt changes hands more than any other title that's out there, because it's that might be the most "what have you done for me lately" title that anybody holds. Because yes, is she absolutely phenomenal? Did she run through 2 divisions, hold it on for so long? I believe she has the most title defenses for female history. And check that stat because I could be wrong on it, but still very imposing will. But does that make her as good as, a Mighty Mouse, a John Jones, a GSP? There's so many other people that go out there into that conversation that necessarily had, or I guess arguably had harder opponents, harder matchups, more grit put against them. And yeah, with the loss against Pena, I get it. That right there puts a little asterisk that not a lot of people like to talk about. But it does go to Amanda Nunes also, that she came back, fought better, learned, developed, grew as a fighter, changed camps, and actually did that. So there is some claim to that title. I just think there's other harder fights out there, harder matchups, and more interesting storylines that go into this. Because at the end of the day, yeah, she did have opposition, but was it a consistent 7, 8, 9 battles back and forth? I don't know, Derick. What do you think? Greatest of all time or greatest female fighter of all time?
Well, to answer your first question, she just edged out Valentina Shevchenko for the most title defenses in UFC women's history with 8. Valentina had 7, right? So can Valentina, if she gets her belt back, can she beat that record? Yeah, absolutely, right? However, Nunes did it across 2 belts, right? Featherweight and bantamweight. So there is that. Now, I do think that Amanda Nunes right now, once again, she did display herself as somebody who is just on a level that is unreachable, untouchable. But the Juliana Pena story, as you just mentioned, it does throw a little bit of a wrench into that, because Pena's over here, you're ducking me, all this stuff, right? And it's like, well, you just got mollywopped fucking 50-43, just, you know what I mean, in your last fight, but that's neither here nor there. I just think that it's going to be tough to see another female fighter put on a run such as this. So, folks, just take a quick peek right here. I'm going to pull up the Tapology. This is where the run started. 2016, she got her hands on gold against Miesha Tate, right? And Miesha Tate was very, very formidable at the time, so I don't want us to be looking at this like, oh, Miesha Tate, what are you talking about? You scroll up, and you see all that green, all these wins, that one blemish to Pena, and then it all ends here in 2023. So if you're talking about a run that started in 2016 and it ends in 2023 victoriously, I mean, brother, you can't really conjure up anything that's better than that. So for that being said, biggest winner here, it's Amanda Nunes, clearly. Biggest loser here, it's Irene Aldana, clearly. And at the end of the day, I really do think that impact-wise, Amanda Nunes, and this is going to be crazy to sound, fight-wise, I'm not talking about outside perspective optics bringing people into the show. I think Amanda Nunes is going to have a much more lasting legacy than Ronda Rousey in the grand scheme of things in the women's division. Would you agree?
100%, Derek. Amanda Nunes has all the X's and O's to have that longer lasting impact. And I also think she's probably going to do more as a coach and a owner and a gym owner going forward and develop the next tier of fighters to come across. Ronda necessarily went into the WWE. You can't blame her. Everybody has different paths. And I do think Nunes' path will be a little bit more well-sustained, if you will.
Yeah, with that being said, man, happy retirement to the Lioness, Amanda Nunes, the double champ, the one who is going to bring the featherweight division to a close. And with that being said, honestly, bro, that was a fantastic, storyline. It felt good, the pictures and all that, the belts. But this was the main event right here. Chucky Olives, he came in against Beniel Dariush, and you could tell my man came in with a mentality that I had kind of mentioned in the pre-show, where I said when you taste gold and you get it stripped away from you, you want that more than you originally wanted it. You have a hunger that is unmatched, and it felt like he fought that way against Beniel Dariush. From the first moment of the fight, he walked forward, he went juggernaut mode, right, and was just throwing it at Beniel. When it got to the ground, there was a little bit of some, gamesmanship. Beniel trying to throw big ground and pound, believe it or not. What did you make of Chucky Olive's head movement on the ground, bro? He was slipping all those shots. They're saying Beniel was denting the canvas the way that he was throwing those big shots. What did you make of that defense right there?
Slipping the shots is a ballsy move on the ground because your head's right there, bouncing off. But what I liked more too, nonetheless, was he slipping them, but he was also throwing elbows up too and catching Beniel when he was coming in. It was a very, very tactful, smart, precise way that Oliveira was moving, bro. And we haven't seen that. We've seen one from the ground TKO, and when, I forget who it was too, but it's pretty miraculous. More people, it's going to be a thing. You're not just dead to the right, or you're not dead in the water if you're on the ground. At least Charles Oliveira is starting to really prove that going forward.
I think you're thinking of Kevin Holland versus Jacare when he got that amazing hammer fist TKO. But yeah, Charles Oliveira slipping good shots, throwing elbows, tried to go for a heel hook attempt. What was really slick here, man, is that I said Charles Oliveira's jiu-jitsu is more inclined for finishes in MMA, right? Beniel is much more technical, can take you through multiple positions, get out of tricky positions that he shouldn't really be able to get out of. And I think a great example of that is when Charles Oliveira marched him down, threw the right hand, threw the head kick, rocked him, and then rocked him with the hook to drop him. He ultimately turned over to the back so that he immediately took the arm underneath the chin, turned to the back, and I was like, oh, he's going to choke him. I was like, this is exactly what I thought. He's going to choke Dariush. Statement made. As soon as he gets the arm underneath the neck, Dariush rolls. So what does Charles Oliveira do? He kind of flips his position, and instead of continuously following with that choke, smashes his face in. Done game, man. That's it. That goes to show how dangerous and how on a warpath Charles Oliveira is, man. It felt like there was no regard for his own safety. The way that he went out there saying that I will go out on my shield if need be for this gold is kind of how I expected Aldana to fight, but clearly not, right? So when he fights with this destructive presence, right, do you think a rematch against Islam Makhachev would be any different from the first fight if he fights the way that he fought against Dariush?
Yes, if he fights the way the Dariush fight went, and especially you juxtapose that to how he underperformed in the Makhachev fight, I think it'll have a different um, play style, if you will. It'll be played out different. I don't know if the outcome will be different. I don't know if he actually has that necessarily. Islam has a lot of gamesmanship as well, but when Charles Oliveira is fighting that animalistic style, kill or be killed, ready to die on my shield. He leaves himself open. He leaves himself to a little bit more danger, but he also presents more opportunities to finish, which is kind of what you want, man. I mean, this is the game we play. It's about inches. It's about seconds, milliseconds, if you will. And Charles Oliveira, when he's on the right side of it, does very, very well. And it's a formidable force to try and take that from him, because this dude is game and he's mentally there. You can tell he is mentally willing to die in that cage to get what he wants. And you said it yourself, Derick. I mean, I love that. The idea of somebody taking something from you and you having to get it back is such a visceral, such a powerful emotion to a lot of people. That's what it looked like Charles Oliveira was feeling in there.
Yeah, man, and I'll say what was even more impressive about it is that Beniel Dariush the whole time was in the upcoming to this fight better than Charles Oliveira everywhere, man. Everything he does, I don't say anything special, right? But that's what Charles Oliveira does. Is he is that special, right? Most finishes in UFC history with 20. I think he has 19 post-fight bonuses, right? So he's kind of in that camp of just like this dude. You show up when he fights. You watch when he fights. And I think that there's really no other place for him to be. It doesn't make sense for him to fight anybody but the person that holds the belt in this category, in this weight class, in 155 pounds. Chucky Olives, Do Bronx. Listen, man, fantastic victory. Last question, then we'll move past this one. Beniel Dariush, man, I said it in the pre-show, and this is the worst thing that I want to be correct about. But sometimes you overcome every hill, every obstacle, every odd that goes your way, and then you come up to that ceiling that we mentioned, and Chucky Olives does appear to be that ceiling. Beniel Dariush should have gotten a title opportunity multiple fights ago. He had to string together 8, and now he loses. So I'm going to bring this question back that I already posed last show. Beniel Dariush does he not hang into the consideration of a title challenger at this point? Does he go back to the end of the queue and have to fight his way all the way back up again, even though he never got the title shot in the first place? What do you think?
Do I want that to happen, dude? Do I want Beniel Dariush to have to go back and be relegated to the bottom 10 and have to fight and claw his way back to the top? No, Derick, and I don't think he deserves that either. Do I think that's going to happen to him? Probably, especially because he's not the most vocal. He doesn't have the biggest draw. Yeah, all the fans came out of the woodwork. We talked about that on the pre-show. All the Benny fans came out of the woodwork for this fight, and you'd love to see it. You appreciate it. But I don't think they're going to be there clamoring for him now that he's lost that fight. And I do think, me personally, he's still that top 3 fighter. There's a lot of fighters in him he can get past, but I agree that ceiling is there. And I hope he doesn't get relegated to the bottom. Do you think they'll do him dirty and put him and to have him claw his way back up to the top, Derick?
Yeah, and I think it's partially his fault just because one of the biggest clips that they kept playing on this pay-per-view, like the little promo for it, was him saying, I don't care how many people I have to fight. If I have to fight another 10 guys and win to get to the belt, that's what I'll do. And it's like, you shouldn't say that because they're like, oh, okay, that's fine. Well, we'll give you another 10 guys, right? You should be like, I want that belt now. Give me the belt now. You know what I mean? Either way, we know Beniel Dariush is still going to be a dark horse in this division, and anybody ranked 2 and lower, got to watch out for this guy, you know what I mean? Because he's going to give you real problems. Big win to Charles Do Bronx Oliveira. We will see if he will claim gold here in the future once again to become a 2-time lightweight champion. All right, man. Now to speed through the rest of these because there were some good wins, some stuff to talk about. And this is a dude right here, Mike Malott, who put on for Canada, right? He closed the show for Canada with the finish. Maintained his finishing ways. Now, he cannot say that he has 10 first-round finishes. He still has 9 first-round finishes because this one came in the second round. But either way, man, Adam Fugitt put on a formidable performance. But now that I watch this one back and when I look at it in hindsight, this makes more sense to me why Mallot was placed here on the card. I think that they're trying to build this guy. I think that this was a showcase bout. And I think that there was nothing that Adam Fugitt particularly had that could put Mike Mallot in real danger and force him out of his game plan. Because on the feet, he looked crisp. Grappling looked even crisper. And the way he dropped Adam Fugitt with that right-left, step-in hooks, and then jumped Gilly immediately, and then mounted and finished, beautiful thing to see. What are your thoughts on this fight?
Bro, technically strong is Mike Malott. I'm also glad he pulled the home card for the home team card for the Canada folks, man. It's good to see people it's cheap pop, but you're going to get people erupting. Mike Malott is the future of Canada fighting. And Derick, you said yourself, bro, very technical, crisp on the striking, has that kind of karate stance to him, but this boy is also very dangerous on the ground, has a lot to offer, has a lot of room to grow, has a lot of years on the belt, still willing to be put to work. So yeah, man, I'm excited, and I can see why they really amped this guy up. Good on the mic, decent on the mic, can probably get a little bit better calling people out, but we'll see, bro. This dude has a great future ahead of him, and no shots thrown to Fugitt, man. It stepped in, fought a good fight, for a formidable fight. Was he outclassed? Yeah. Did he have his moments? A couple, but still, this was the Mike Malott show, and I think there's a reason why he put him on in the main card for Canada.
Yeah, I mean, listen, man, it takes balls to go out there in enemy territory against the biggest guy going in Canada right now. And, I just think, once again, the matchmaking for this one, it didn't really make sense going into the fight. You saw they were both finishers, so it would be fun. But I think that Mike Malott is a dude who, give him a couple other good build-up fights, and he'll be seeing that top 15 pretty soon. I do believe so. Now, we do have to mention for a Mike Malott, this dude, look, he mentioned he was all like, I'm built for this. I put myself in every scenario. If the fight goes long, I'm ready for it to go long. If it goes short, I'm ready for it to go short. It did not look like cardio was going to be any issue going into that second round. He looked composed. I just think that we need to call out right now, what is a good ceiling for Mike Malott from his development thus far? I mean, it's hard to say anything other than champion, given that this dude is just running through everybody. His sole loss came back in 2014, and it was against Hakeem Dawodu. So you can't be mad at the man for that. So where are we putting ceiling-wise?
I don't want to. I'm with you, Derick. I don't want to say championship right now because, yeah, do I think he possibly could? Yeah, there's a path to which he could take to get to gold. Right now, I'm excited to see how he handles an adversity. When he gets tagged up, when he's bloodied up, sitting there having to breathe through your mouth because your nose is broken, your eyes starting to swell up. This dude's just a little faster than you. How is he going to transform and handle that growth? Because if he handles that with star abilities, takes it over, changes the thing, makes the fight his fight, then I'm really clamoring for this guy to be top 5, get that title shot. But right now, I'm with you, top 15. And the ceiling, at least what I'm seeing right now, is that top 5. If we can get him to top 5 and starting to prove that adversity, I'm willing to push it a little past that. But what do you think, Derick?
Yeah, fair play. I would say right now, I definitely consider him a definite top 10 talent if he can continue a run like this against a little more game opponents. So far, you got Mickey Gall, Johan Lioness, and Adam Fugitt underneath your belt. And those are not bad fighters to have, but we know 170 pounds is incredibly deep, and there's a lot of really, really good fighters, good grapplers, good wrestlers that are going to be popping up. But that was a big win by Mike Malott. That was the Mike Malott show right there. Dan 50K Ige, he gets a unanimous decision against Nate Landwehr, and he ran away with this one, man. This is what I said. I said, Landwehr, you talked yourself into a top 15 performance in terms of opposition, matchmaking, and you got your opportunity. Now, I hope you're ready for what you wish for. And you could tell he was ready, I think mentally, right? I think mentally he was like, I'm the star that the UFC needs. They need to build me up. But even in the pre-fight pressers, it kind of felt like he was trying to convince himself a little bit as I can take advantage of this moment. I could change my life, my career trajectory. Dan Ige is almost the worst opponent to have because on paper, he's number 13. In real life, this dude is 5-10, bro. This is one of the best guys in this entire division. In a pure striking fight, Dan Ige, I mean, listen, there's levels to this, and he put that on display. Landwehr was never able to get the fight to the ground to be able to pull off a submission or anything like that. My only surprise is that Ige, I really thought he was going to put him out. That TKO bet that I placed for Dan Ige, you got the sub on that one. I really did look at that and say he did what he needed to do. He had a couple of those opportunities. It just didn't click the way we wanted it to, but it was not a bad bet. Would you agree with that synopsis? And what was your take on the fight?
Yeah, I know. I would agree with that synopsis. The only reason he didn't put Nate the Train out is because homeboy is stubborn. He has a great chin on him, and he's very, very durable. Mm-hmm. So anyone else in there, they're going to sleep. But, got to give credit where credit is due. Nate the Train did show up, like you said, Derick, mentally. But there's levels to this game, and you got to be careful what you ask for, especially when you're locking yourself inside the cage with another trained killer. Yeah. And I'm 50K Ige. A lot of people were overlooking this guy. A lot of people shouting out for Nate the Train in the DMs. But 50K Ige is time-tested, proven, not only good in a tactful battle that's going on, not only good in the chess match, but also good in a scrap too, bro. And a lot of people forget about that. Dan Ige is always down to really bite down on that mouthpiece and stand toe-to-toe. Not many people expected that out of him, but a good fight and a way to show your veteranship and stay composed and actually go the full distance, never really putting yourself in too much danger.
It was interesting because Dan Ige did seem a little down on his performance, where he was all like, I really wanted to get that finish. And that goes to show what type of competitor he is. And I think that with that win, we didn't learn too much about Dan Ige because the real ones already knew this was what the story was. My question is, what did we learn about Nate Landwehr once he gets to that upper echelon?
Ooh, that's a good question, Derick. Me personally, I'm going back to what I just said. I learned that this guy is mentally prepared. Mentally, he is there. He just needs to find those little bit of fine-tuning motions that are going to be able to get him to that next level and kind of mentally shift from I'm this big, sorry, Sasha Bear's not going to get in, but I'm this big animal that's just going to come in and brawl and force everybody to fight my will. But when that doesn't happen, most people crumble. Most people lose that kind of dog in them and get a little discouraged. If Nate is able to flip that mindset, change it to where, okay, well, the brawl isn't working. I need to go back to the fundamentals, the ones and twos, the down the pipe, slipping, getting off the head center line, all the stuff that makes champions who they are fundamentally. If Nate can really have that paradigm shift to be able to go back and forth, to pull on the dog when he needs it, but stay technically sound when he does, that right there will be what I'm excited to see for Nate. And if he can do that, that'll really elevate this dude's game to the next level. What do you think? What's the X factor he needs to come into this and grow?
I'm going to take exactly what you said, but I'm going to flip it. I think that what you saw was Nate Landwehr being able to talk himself up and convince the fans that he's nothing but a brawler and that he's going to come and just blood and guts and gore, and that's what a Nate Landwehr fight is. But you saw once he got in there, it was very technical. It was back to the M1 Global days, right, where he was very, very technical there. And then once the fight started getting away from him, late round 2, early round 3, that's when they were calling for, all right, you need to bring the train out. Where's the train at? Because we're just getting technical Nate here, and you're getting picked apart right now. We need to see the blood and guts. He did, in the end, turn it on a little bit, throwing the flying knees, trying to catch Ige with something. Just didn't quite come to fruition. Big win by 50K Dan Ige. And you know Nate the Train will be back. All right, brother. Now to kick us off with the first fight of the night, Marc Andre-Barriult, the power bar, gets the hometown win against Eryk ya boy Anders. And I thought this was a very competitive back and forth fight. I took a flyer on Anders, given that he's big, he's strong. He has the ability to kind of mitigate what Marc Andre-Barriult does best. But at the end of the day, man, they really are two wrecking balls that have a very similar style that just clashed in the middle. Now, how did this fight turn out to be 30-27 in favor of Marc Andre-Barriult, given it was fight of the night, right? So clearly it was competitive back and forth. And I felt like Eryk Anders, in some spots, did get the better of Marc Andre-Barriult, man. But, I mean, at the end of the day, you went into enemy territory, and that's what happened in Canada. So what do you think?
Man, I had it a lot closer, Derick. When I heard 30-27s being read out, I was like, really? I mean, don't get me wrong. It's Canada, so maybe there was a little hometown play going on there, but I don't think so. Did the right guy win? Yes. Was it a lot closer of a fight than 30-27? Yes. I definitely think Anders had his moments to really find himself proud of his performance going into there. It's just not you're not on this one. And like you said earlier, Derick, it's hard to bet on your boy in a decision because we've seen that not necessarily go his way. Powerbar proved me wrong on the Twitch stream, folks. Follow the Twitch because we were breaking it down. But prove me wrong. Powerbar does have that power to keep going for all 3 rounds. Really working on his gas tank. It was impressive. Man, this was a hard one. We were in the pre-show, folks. We were calling that if this goes to decision, it might be a robbery because it was so close. Not that close, but right under that, man. Very, very impressive fight for both guys.
I think we were more right than we were wrong in regards to how this fight played out. But I will say this. I felt that Marc Andre-Barriult, his power or his gas tank would zap a little bit depending on the style of fight. And Eryk Anders was never able to really get the takedowns that he needed to zap that energy out of Barriult. He got one good takedown, right? A nice little single leg, brought him down, all that good stuff. That was cool. But I mean, you got to give it up to the takedown defense of Barriult, man. He played the perfect game plan to be able to mitigate being exhausted in the third round of the fight. And then Eryk Anders, the biggest problem, I think, is that he just wasn't able to keep up volume-wise over the course of 3 rounds. So I felt like it was like first round, Barriult, second round, Anders, third round, close, but Barriult ran away with it towards the end. So that's why I thought it was closer, 29-28 personally. But what can you say, man? Eryk Anders always brings it. Barriult always brings it. But now Barriult, I mean, listen, this is a big momentum boost. You've been calling out this guy for years. You beat him. Decision in Canada. What's next for Barriult? I'm not sure, man. Because of the type of guys they're giving him, I just don't know what would be the next matchup for Barriult, but it should be a fun fight regardless. Do you have any other takes on this fight?
Nah, man, I was thinking about what you were saying. Who's the next guy they're going to give Barriult? Who's the guy that's going to push Barriult to really become the star he wants to be and grow and, provide for his family and all that stuff? And nothing comes to mind. There's nobody clamoring for a power bar fight, unfortunately. And he's not necessarily pushing his own narrative as well. So you're right. It kind of leaves him in this stagnant position. And I kind of feel like they'll give him another up-and-comer that's going to try to take his spot and not necessarily propel his own career, if that makes sense.
And that's the unfortunate part of this business, man, is that you got to put on in the cage. And then on top of that, you have to be a showman. And if you're not going to promote yourself and the UFC doesn't really want to promote you, you're going to be stuck in no man's land. So big win for the power bar. I'm excited to see the next fight for Eryk Anders. I'm also excited to see it for Barriult, but I think that Eryk Anders left with a little more pop out of this fight, even though he lost in a weird way. You know what I mean? $50K across the board regardless. All right. Now, AJ, believe it or not, so once upon a time, this is how I should say it. Once upon a time, we used to do Fighter of the Night here, right? And we might have to do a little mini version, bring that back, like who was the biggest winner of the night? Because sometimes there's a narrative that we just don't have time to talk about. And I feel like we need to bring this at the top of the Prelim Pourover, and I hope you know who I'm talking about here, AJ. I'm going to take a scroll down to the bottom of the prelims, and I'm going to look at this David Dvorak versus Steve Erceg flyweight bout. And I want to highlight this to say that this guy, this unassuming Steve Erceg, who you look at him and you're like, oh, this guy should give it to him. First off, 8 days notice, comes in, fights David Dvorak, top 10 dude in the world, and outclasses this man from bell to bell, bro. Like, Steve Erceg legitimately won the night, and I feel like nobody is talking about him now that Nunes retires and Chucky Olives and all that. So let's give the man his flowers. Steve Erceg, Astro Boy, this man came to play. How impressed were you with his performance over Dvorak?
My mind was blown, Derek. I was expecting David Dvorak to run through Erceg. And when I saw him sitting there reading things, bobbing, weaving, managing the distance, doing all the right things, and frustrating Dvorak into this fight, bro, I was shocked. And literally, he could have probably had the fastest run to the title. If he just said, bro, 8 days short notice, I beat up your boy. He's top 10. I can also beat up the champ. That's all you need. Everybody would have been like, "Oh shit, this guy's really calling for it. Maybe give him another one. Like, let's give him top 5, give him the champ right away." He handled it a little differently. Admittedly, the pressure was there, but man, this guy. I hope we see the same kind of performance. I hope we see the same kind of dog and drive in him. Because shit, top 10 on 8 days, like, bro, this was wild to me, man.
That's the thing, is now you have nothing but formidable killers that you're going to have to go up against. So maybe he did it for good cause. Maybe he was like, maybe I want to sneak in 1 or 2 more fights and then make my run. Either way, this dude already had a lot of big fights coming into this, man, coming out of Eternal MMA. This dude is an Australian cat, bro. These Australian guys they're coming into this promotion with experience, ready to go, not being too afraid of the moment. The moment isn't getting to him, and he showed out, man. And that's the thing, is that it was a close fight. It was not like he ran away bell to bell, just beat on Dvorak, man. It came down to that third round. It was really how you scored it. But, I think he got 130-27, man. And when he saw the 30-27, he was like, that's got to be for me, right, man? They gave him the win. So Steve Erceg is a real name that you're going to have to, keep an eye on in the flyweight division. This is a guy who I think got the biggest win of the entire night at UFC 289, and I just think that, you got to give the man a little bit of respect, bro. David Dvorak, the Gravedigger, or the Undertaker, I guess I should say. He is no joke. All right, man. Let's also look at this fight. This was my sleeper, Diana Belbita versus Marina Oliveira. I hope you guys tuned in. This was a fun fight. Back and forth, a decision, but this was a very fun fight to get us started. And I think it's fair to say that Diana Belbita is no joke, man. When she actually gets going and she's going downhill, she gives people some real problems, bro. Like, she sits down on her shots really well and has some good jiu-jitsu. What do you expect from Diana Belbita moving forward in this division? If we take a quick look at just like what the resume has been recently, we're looking at that win over Oliveira, but look at those losses. Gloria DePaula, Liana Jojua, who's no longer in the promotion anymore, Molly McCann, got a win over Hannah Goldie. What do you think?
I'm expecting Belbita to grow a little bit more from this and not falter to the cream of the crop in the divisions. She has her moments where she really fights down or up to her opposition, and I'm expecting her to actually be able to take her career into her own hands and really start to push how she fights. Instead of falling into the traps that the other people set up, she's going to be the one setting the traps. That's where I'm hoping the career path trajects. We'll see, though. What do you think, Derick?
You know, it's going to be interesting because she has like social media following outside of the UFC or outside like just fighting in and of itself. So that's where I saw her the most, more than like actually being promoted simply for her fights. Now that she's strung a good one together right here over Maria Oliveira, you have to just keep putting them on. She's a little inactive right now. I think that she can make a good run though, man. Strawweight is not very deep. We've seen strawweight is not the most deep class in the division, so it's something to definitely keep your eye on. But there was a couple other good fights. This was the biggest one that blew my mind, man. Jasmine Jasvidicius versus Miranda Maverick, bro. This is a spot right here where Jasvidicius, her size and her frame really came into play in this fight, and Miranda Maverick, this is, I mean, what can you say here, man? Because we went into this saying Miranda Maverick is going to give her issues. She's going to run away with this thing. Aside from this, basically, are we still calling robbery? This very controversial loss to Macy Barber. She's had a good run, man. Win over Jillian Robertson, Liana Jojua, again, Pearl Gonzalez, Sabina Mazo, Shanna Young. But this up and downness, I just don't know. Where are we going with Miranda Maverick right here? How big, I guess, should we say, of a win for Jasmine Jasvidicius was this? Because I thought that was pretty big.
I thought it was massive, Derick. And I don't know if it's just because we're hardcore fans and know who Miranda Fear the Maverick is, but I thought this was such a big win. This was one that Miranda needed to really solidify that she is one of the top fighters in the division, and then arguably gets outclassed in basically every position, whether it's on the feet or on the ground. I mean, definitely on the ground. That one's without a doubt, because Jasvidicius looks slick. But, man, it's rough because you're right. Miranda Maverick has these up and down trajectories that she likes to ride, and is it par for the course for the female division? Yeah, but it's interesting to see when somebody can tie wins together back to back to back to back, like the GOATess who we were talking about earlier, and why other fighters can't really do that. I mean, yeah, you're showing the numbers there, a plus 200, a moderate underdog, but did not fight like it, man. She fought like she was going in there as the top dog, and sure enough, proved it right.
Jasvidicius is a lot older than I imagined, man. I don't know why I thought she was so young. It's just because she's breaking into the UFC right now. But 34 years old. Miranda Maverick is only 25. So, I mean, that is a big difference too. 10 years, age gap. But the frame of Jasvidicius was really what came into play. I thought that was just such a monster win. Don't got to break this down too much because there wasn't much to talk about. But Aiemann Zahabi just stiffs Aoriqileng in one round, bro. And Aoriqileng got back up and he was like, all right, I'm ready to fight. Let's go. And he was like, no, bro, it's over. Like, sorry, you got to know, chill. Listen, Aiemann Zahabi, I was going into this fight thinking Aiemann Zahabi is a dude who's able to have these miraculous performances that people are just, I mean, I don't know. They just don't see him coming, right? I'm trying to think. I think it might have been that Draco Rodriguez fight where everyone was all like, oh, shit, who is this Aiemann Zahabi guy? But then he gets that win against, you feel me, Ricky Tercios, and then Aoriqileng, man. Aiemann Zahabi, Ariel Helwani 2.0 is a man not to be slept on, you know. But aside from that one, you got any take on that fight?
Man, I'm just glad you called him Ariel Helwani too. That was what's going all over Twitter. Ariel Helwani Zahabi coming out with a TKO knockout. But hey, I'm just happy the Zahabi name is still staying relevant because obviously one of the best coaches out there. But now we got one of the best fighters also too, man. It's good to see.
Yeah, and Faraz was in the corner too, so it was a beautiful thing to see. This is something you don't want to see. Clash of heads, man. Nassourdine Imavov versus Chris Curtis. And this is another one of those spots where it's like Chris Curtis cannot catch a break. This dude just gets headbutted after headbutted. That was a nasty gash, too. Here's the problem with the fight. At the end, like when that was happening, Nassourdine, he was kind of doing his thing, man. He was starting to run away with the fight a little bit. Chris Curtis always is kind of a little bit behind until he catches you, and then he wins the fight, right? Just waiting for that timing, that opportunity to open itself, to present itself. But this was the tough part. It's like Chris Curtis, on one hand, eyes, closed. You can't really see. We all know the magic words in MMA. I can't see equals you cannot fight. He said I cannot see multiple times, but also tried to stay within the fight. I'm not in the camp of he didn't want to fight and he was looking for an excuse. I don't believe that whatsoever. This dude's got like 40 fights. Literally 40 fights, right? No, I don't see it. I'm not buying that. What are you reading into this situation? Because to me, it just felt like heat of the moment, emotion, poor fight IQ by saying the thing that you weren't supposed to say, but also wanting to stick in the fight. What do you think?
It's hard, Derek, because I want any keyboard warrior out there to go and tell Chris Curtis that he's scared to fight, because that boy is one of the real ones that will fight anybody, anytime, anywhere. So do I think it was a falter of game plan or fight IQ? Not necessarily, but what I do think is sometimes when you're in the heat of the moment and your brain is in, that animalistic style of mode and you're basically defending your life, you just say things that are either true or that, that just kind of come to your mind. And it's not necessarily like he planned it or he was trying to get out of the fight or something like that. Homeboy probably really legitimately couldn't see, but still did want to stay in the fight. He just said it. And then now as revisionist history, he's probably looking back on like, fuck, why did I say that? Oh, so I don't think it was intentional. It just came out. It's one of those things. We've all been there where we're just putting our foot in our mouth, saying things that we go, oh shit, I probably shouldn't have said that. I'm sure Chris Curtis went to the locker room and said, fuck, did I say that? Shit, I shouldn't have said that. Yep.
Yeah, no, I feel you, man. And the tough part is that it felt like Jason Herzog, who was all like, bro, like, I'm going to call this fight off. And Chris was like, no, bro, one more minute. He was like, I don't think you understand here. You're not losing. This is going to be a no contest. Like, I'm going to call this fight. He's like, Chris Curtis was like, no, bro, like, I want to continue this fight. I've never pulled out of a fight, whatever the case may be. So it was a little weird there because it was almost like Chris Curtis was strong-arming Jason Herzog and being like, you're not going to fucking stop this fight, bro. And Jason Herzog kind of had to put his foot down a little bit and was all like, I'm calling the shots here, buddy. Let's not forget. I would like to see this fight ran back personally because I thought this one was heating up. It was getting pretty good. But you got to feel bad for both guys because Imavov too. You know what I mean? It's like you lost your last one. You're finally putting it together in a good style performance. But then again, orthodox southpaw, clash of heads. It is what it is. All right, man. With that being said, you know what we're here to do, folks. Now we've broken down the prelims. We talked about the main card. We have to figure out what the state of a particular division looks like. And if you don't know what division that we're talking about, then you probably shouldn't be watching this program because it's pretty common sense. We're talking about the women's flyweight division. We're talking about, or the bantamweight division, sorry, the double champ. About to fade off into existence, man. Like Thanos, the snap, boom, and then it all kind of pixelates away, right? Listen. Nunes, she held it down for a long time. This is actually the craziest part, AJ, right? Nunes, gone from dismantling division. Shevchenko, no longer the champion. Like, the UFC's championship gate has been just kind of flipped on its head. So let's talk about this division. Amanda Nunes out of the picture, right? Nobody there. Who are we saying is going to be the first person to get their hands on gold? Because this is the realistic situation. A vacant title fight, most likely, now that Aldana has exited from the picture, right? She was going to be the number one contender to fight next. And now it's like, all right, boom. It's going to be Raquel Pennington, Holly Holm, Juliana Pena, and like that's it, bro. It's like that's gonna be your three-man battle, your three-man tournament to determine who's gonna be the champ. So what do you think it should be? Do you think it should be Juliana Pena, who was the last champion not named Amanda Nunes, should automatically get a fight against either Raquel Pennington or these two duking it out to be able to figure out who's going to be that person? Is that logic train following, or are you saying that's not how it works? UFC is just gonna handpick whoever they want?
No, I mean, the logic train works, not saying that's not what's going to happen, Derek. The UFC could pull some funky stuff out and just choose who they want, and we could end up seeing a Holly Holm, Raquel Pennington, and then Juliana Pena gets the stiff. I personally would like to see Juliana Pena versus a Holly Holm. Now, is that the most clamoring fight? Are people really doing that? And like, are people wanting to see Holly Holm go back? And maybe just because I'm a New Mexican in me, dog, and I want to see Holly Holm get the belt again, I'm a little biased there. I personally, though, all that being said, I kind of would like to see Juliana Pena versus a Ketlen Vieira. I mean, and don't get me wrong, Ketlen Vieira does need to kind of up her game a little bit to get to that skill point. So maybe we see a round robin, or maybe we see something like that. Juliana Pena is probably the most deserving of the instant match. Not saying she's going to get it instantly just because she deserves it, quote unquote. But we might honestly see the Holly Holm Raquel Pennington do that. I know that. Do they have a fight coming up? Because I know that's what a lot of people on the Twitter sphere are actually saying.
So check it out, man. This is what throws a wrench into this. Is if you look at, if we just go to Holly Holm and no fighters found for Holly Holm. Yeah, that's right. There we go. We look at Holly Holm and we look at who she's scheduled to fight. Look at that. On July 15th, Mayra Bueno Silva. She already got a fight booked. So this makes me feel like they're going to scrap this fight and they're going to try to insert her against Pennington. But let's take a look at this. Last fight against Pennington. She beat her in 2020. Decision. You want to go down a little bit further? Raquel Pennington, 2015. Split decision. Beat her. You already beat her twice. You're going to do a trilogy fight for a title and you have 2 wins over that. What story is there for you to talk about? Where's the storyline? You know what I mean? I don't see it. I don't see any narrative for this fight to be taking place. So that's why I think that if they take Holly Holm out, it has to be against Juliana Pena. If Juliana Pena is not in this conversation, who are we talking about? Do you say, I mean, Yana Santos just lost her. So Yana Santos lost. Let me pull this back up. These are the people who just lost. Juliana Pena coming off of a loss. Holly Holm, is she coming off of a loss or let me see. No, she beat Yana Santos. That's right. Holly Holm coming off of a win. Ketlen Vieira off of a loss. Irene Aldana off a loss. Yana Santos off of a loss. I believe Pani Kianzad might be coming off of a loss. Macy Chasson, like half the division is coming off of a loss. You feel me? So it's like, this is the person who I really think if there's any opportunity for them to be champion, this is the one I've been calling for all these years, Julia Avila, man. But she had a kid. I don't know if she's pregnant right now, if she already had the kid, but she's kind of in that limbo right now. All right, man, let's call it. Who's going to be the champ? Who's going to be the next not Amanda Nunes named champ?
Woo! I want to say Holly Holm, Derek, but I'm sticking with the long shot, Ketlen Vieira. It's wild. It's crazy. I'm probably going to be wrong.
Give me the preacher's daughter, baby. I'm going to be more Santa Fe than you today, brother. Let's go. Give me the preacher's daughter. Just find me a style that's going to really be in a 5-round fight. Find me a style that's going to be as formidable as Holly Holm's, as time-tested as Holly Holm's. I don't see it right now, but, I mean, somebody prove me wrong. You know, with that being said, folks, that is your 60 seconds rankings review. Those are our predictions for the future of the women's bantamweight division. And I think it's safe to say, without even saying it, no more women's featherweight division. Let's X that one out. All right, man. Folks, UFC 289 was fantastic, depending on how you looked at it. Fantastic for my man AJ, 5-0. Don't forget that my man had 3 clean sweeps across the board this year. Now that has heavily placed him in the lead. I think he's got about a 7-pick lead on me right now. But let's not forget, it's only June. People, what are we talking about? This competition does not end until December, and it's never over until it's over. So next week, just remember, we have Marvin Vettori versus Jared Cannonier, a big-time middleweight showdown. Another one of those spots where it's like both of these dudes have fought for the title, beating each other. Y'all gonna rematch? It's just gonna be rematches. It's almost like, AJ, do you feel like the state of UFC is almost like movies? How it's all remakes and nothing original, and it's just like y'all can't figure out nothing new with some spice, some substance. What do you think?
I 100% agree, and it's almost what kills divisions, Derek, is the fact that we're going back to what we were saying about the Nunes, man. There's ran through so much. Who else is going to take this shot? Everybody's coming off of L's. Everybody's coming off of rematches, and nobody's really clamoring for a Cannonier Marvin Vettori fight, but it has to happen because they're in the top 5. Izzy's running away with stuff, so I can see the correlation for sure.
With that being said, folks, catch us next week on Friday for the, I want to call it UFC Vegas 75. Honestly, I'm not sure where this fight is taking place, but you know, where is it at, AJ? Is it Vegas?
No, it is 75. It's Fight Night 75. I don't know if it's Vegas or where it's taking place, but yeah.
All right, fair play. Catch us on Friday for the pre-show for a big middleweight showdown, and you already know what the deal is. Give us a subscription, a follow, a plug, a share, whatever the case may be. Follow my boy AJ on Twitch at twitch.tv/Santa Fe Bomber. That's it for us, and until next time, folks, peace.